Yesterday, Sayadaw spoke about 4 points mentioned in the Abhidhamma. Four causes for the kusala mind, the wholesome mind, to occur together with knowledge. And among these 4 points, the last one still remains to be completely discussed, and that is kilesa duribhavato. That means the state of the mental defilements being far away from the mind of the yogi. And Sayadaw will talk about how knowledge occurs in this regard. In our past lives, having taught others a skill that is free of fault, that doesn't harm others, in fact, that is beneficial for others, and being oneself free of fault in performing the skill and teaching others how to do this. That is one cause for knowledge to arise. And also, inviting someone to speak who is able to talk about the trainings of Sila, Samadhi, and Panya, who has practiced the training of morality, of concentration, and of wisdom, who can explain how to practice. Inviting such a person to speak and also discussing such things. Without any qualifications, it's not good to teach. And if one goes from one teacher to another, collecting notes without developing any qualifications oneself, this is not a good way to try to teach. So people need to be careful about this. And also, cause for knowledge to arise is doing a good deed and making the wish that this be the cause for knowledge to arise in my future lives. So because of the past good deeds that one has done to cause knowledge to arise, when conception occurs, when the sperm and the ova combine, there's the seed of knowledge at this very moment. There's a seed from which knowledge can grow in the being's lifetime. The type of wisdom that we should aim for is the ability to see whether something is beneficial for ourselves and others. This is called sataka sampajanya, the clear comprehension of what is beneficial and not. And also the clear comprehension of what is suitable and what is not. Sapaya sampajanya. These two qualities are very important in the world. The second cause mentioned yesterday has to do with being born in the Brahma world. So for the moment, we're going to put that aside. The third cause that's for knowledge to arise together with kusala that Sayadaw mentioned yesterday is that one has reached the age of maturity of the wisdom faculty. When people, this is the age between 40 and 50. So if a human lifespan is 100 years, then each decade of within that 100 years, there's the potential to develop knowledge. And Sayadaw will explain about this when there's another opportunity. But at this age of the maturity of one's faculties, that is the faculty of wisdom or panya, For even if one is dull, mentally slow, when they reach that age, if their environment is supportive, the person can develop knowledge. So the knowledge about what is suitable and not, what is beneficial and not, is very important. How we relate among family members or in a workplace, when we have the ability to reflect wisely about what is beneficial, what is not, what is suitable or not, this ability is very important. According to the texts, this type of knowledge, the faculty, the controlling faculty of wisdom matures when a person is between 40 and 50 years of age. This is called the age of wisdom. So that means to say that those who are under 40, for those who are under 40, wisdom does not occur on its own. Well, this is true. If you think about it, a 10-year-old boy, for example, has a certain amount of confusion. And 20-year-olds are caught up in enjoyment. And those who are in their 30s, they tend to like, especially women, Sayadaw said, they like to beautify themselves at this stage in life. And one's energy, physical energy, is good between the age of 30 and 40. So up to age 40, one doesn't tend to take time to develop wisdom because of the other things one is involved in. But between the age of 40 and 50, because of one's accumulated experience, one reaches a point where the wisdom faculty becomes strong. Now, over 50, there tends to be one's energy physically is reduced, one's back may start to become curved, one may start to be forgetful, and so on throughout the decades. And when one is in one's 90s, one probably is lying down most of the time. So how will these people who are not between 40 and 50 develop knowledge? This is a problem. So for these people, the texts say, kilesa duribhavato. The cause for people of that age to develop knowledge is making the mental defilements, removing them so that they are far away. And when that happens, knowledge can arise. So how do we remove the kilesas so that they are far away? Sayadaw will explain about this. Whether one is a young person, under 40, or whether one is in the 50-plus group, whatever person has the ability to weigh whether something is beneficial or not for one's life and for others, whether something is suitable or not for one's life and for others. One who has this ability to reflect and weigh accurately is called nipaka. That means they are mature. They're a mature person. This maturity of knowledge is also called pariharya. That means that one has the wisdom to avoid what is harmful, what is detrimental to oneself and others. One has the wisdom to do what is beneficial. So one with this type of wisdom, nipaka panya or pariharya panya, one with this type of knowledge, for the most part, will come to encounter the Dhamma. One will look for a way to make one's life better. And a person with this type of wisdom, for the most part, will become a yogi. So here are people meditating, are people who have knowledge, people who have this nipaka, who have experiential knowledge, and who have knowledge that is developed through their experience. And wanting to make one's life better and better, one wants to find out how to go forward, how to keep on going forward in one's life. So one approaches a good spiritual friend to learn about the practice. And if one practices, one can develop knowledge. So these two types of knowledge, gochara sampajanya. This is the knowledge that one must note, observe all the time. And asamoha sampajanya. When one has virya, sati, and samadhi every second, virya, effort, doesn't accept the kilesas, starting with laziness. Sati protects the mind. It blockades against the kilesas. And with these two, samadhi, the mind falls collectively on the object that is being observed with mindfulness, so that there's no movement due to raga and dosa. This movement of the mind due to the defilements becomes calmed. And this mind is called the developed mind, the bhavana mind. This mind is progressing. It goes from being tiny to becoming big. It becomes developed. It advances. It goes from being just occurring infrequently to occurring many times. This is called bhavana, or mental development. With the power of bhavana, samadhi is present. And due to that samadhi that comes from our making effort, knowledge occurs. And thus the Buddha said, samahito bhikkhave yatha bhutan pajanati. That means that one who has stabilized one's mind sees clearly things as they are. To the extent that one observes the arising object with effort, sati arises, and due to sati, the mind becomes collected on the object. So the bhavana mind occurs. And when the bhavana mind develops good energy, then knowledge arises. This is what Sayadaw said previously. Sayadaw recited a Pali which I couldn't catch all of. But what it said is that that those who have removed kilesas, due to the removal of kilesas, knowledge arises. It's because of when one has removed the kilesas, the wholesome mind that arises together with knowledge. It's said in the text. So, one who has removed the kilesas, this means that one looks for a method and uses that can be used to remove the kilesas. And as Sayadaw mentioned earlier, not knowing, not noting, kilesas come in. Noting and knowing, kilesas come clean. In order to remove the kilesas, one just needs to note. That's all that is needed. There's a gatha from the Dhammapada. Yoga Vaisayati Bhuri. That means that one who makes effort in the practice removing the kilesas due to the application of the practice, noting and knowing in each moment. This is called yoga. So due to this effort, one who applies effort in the practice develops sati, and with that there is samadhi, collectedness of mind. The yogis now are focusing their attention on the arising object within their being, within their body. They make effort so that mindfulness will stick to the object. They, not noting casually or coolly, one has to be alert, active. And with this type of active effort, then for one who applies effort, mindfulness is sure to come. And the mindfulness sticks to the object naturally through one's effort, through one's repeated effort to observe the object. When the mindfulness is good, then the mind becomes clean. So one develops this mind, this clean mind. One enlarges it, one multiplies it. Samadhi is present in this mind, in this clean mind. And with this samadhi, wisdom, which is deep and broad, vast like the earth, can arise. So one, on the other hand, ayoga buri sankayo. So when one spends one's time with sense pleasures, and doesn't take up the practice, or if one takes up the practice but doesn't do it respectfully, or if one doesn't apply the practice systematically, in that case, virya, sati, and samadhi will not occur. Or, if they occur, their energy will not become full. And in that case, one won't be able to develop this vast wisdom. Instead, what knowledge one has will dry up. So to create knowledge, this type of knowledge that is vast like the earth, we need effort. Noting and knowing, kilesas come clean. So each second that we note, we first remove the kilesa, we detach it, and each noting makes the kilesas farther and farther away. So this is what is meant by kilesa duribhava, removing the kilesas so that they are far away. So the text that Sayadaw just mentioned is in accordance with what is said in the Satipatthana Sutta. In the Satipatthana Sutta it's said that one has to apply an Vipassana repeatedly on the object of observation. One has to observe the arising object repeatedly. For this, what is needed is effort to note the arising object. If one applies effort, there will be sati. And that sati will become exceptional through repeated development. If sati is present and becomes strong, then the mind will become collected on the object of observation. So then the three qualities of virya, sati, and samadhi, effort, mindfulness, and concentration, will be present, and this is called bhavana. One is developing a clean mind, time and again. It's becoming enlarged and multiplied. So when one causes this clean bhavana mind to occur many times, when one multiplies it many times, then Gochara Sampajanya, the clear comprehension regarding the object, will occur. One comes to know that one needs to observe every single object. And as it's said, not knowing one clings, but knowing clinging is just unraveled. So when one knows like this, that one has to observe every arising object, when one meets with desirable sense objects, because one's noting is continuous, one noting is following another. At that point, kilesas don't arise. The kilesas are detached each time we note with Virya Sati Samadhi. One time, they're detached each time one makes a noting. So they'll be removed in 10 notings. There will be 10 times that they're removed. 20 notings, 20 times of detaching and removing the kilesas. And doing this many times, noting many times, so that the kilesas are separated. The kilesas become very far away. And one who is able to distance or to remove the kilesas so that they are far away from one's mind, for them the kusala mind, the wholesome mind, occurs together with knowledge. And thus one has Gochara Sampajanya. One who has this, observing the arising object without a break, for that type of person, then asamoha sampajanya, clear asamoha sampajanya. Asamoha means absence of confusion. When this type of clear comprehension arises, asamoha sampajanya, one is clear about what is mentality, what is physicality. Knowledge arises in stages. One understands how this is cause, that is effect. And one sees how the nama and rupa phenomena that occur due to causes arise and then pass away. Because of this, they are impermanent. They are inherently suffering, unsatisfactory, and they lack an inherent self. So this type of knowledge occurs. And one type of knowledge is not the same as another. There are many, many types of knowledge that arise. When Vipassana knowledge is complete, then one goes from observation of the continual flow of mind and body that is arising and passing away to that is called pavata, that which occurs again and again. One goes from observation of that to apavata, that which does not arise and pass away. With the special knowledge of path and fruition, this knowledge of path and fruition has the ability to cut off the kilesas. This is what is meant by the wisdom that is vast like the earth. And this wisdom can be gained from the practice. The Buddha guaranteed this. Asamoha sampajanya. This word asamoha means that wavering is distant, or that there's an absence of wavering. If one is wavering, when one looks at something and it is wavering, one becomes dizzy, one doesn't know, one sees unclearly. So without the practice, one doesn't have the ability to see clearly. An ordinary person, because bhavana, the virya, sati, and samadhi are not there, then in their minds there will be greed, anger, and delusion, lobha, dosa, and moha occurring. And if we were to calculate that in 1,000 moments, 1,000 moments of confusion or moha make up about 1 inch, then that's like, there are layers of, throughout the day, if there's no bhavana to stop the layers of delusion, then one layer just builds up after another. So in one day, the layer of delusion would be very, very thick. If, say, 1,000 moments of delusion were to make up an inch of a layer, or 1 inch layer of delusion, then in one day there would be a tremendously thick, many layers of moha. And this is what is called samoha, intense delusion. So when there's this deep delusion, intense delusion, Mama, one can't see clearly, one sees vaguely. And with layers of delusion, it's like when one tries to see from one mountain to the next, and there's a big fog in between. You just can't see what is across from you. So this deep delusion, unpenetrable delusion, is called samoha. So, as it's said, noting and knowing, kilesas come clean. When one makes effort, due to repeated effort, the mind falls on the object collectively. And with effort, sati, and samadhi, the mind, with mindfulness falling collectively on the object, moment by moment, this intense delusion of samoha is gradually worn away. It's worn down, and there becomes an opening. And so one starts to see. When one observes the rising, one sees stiffness or tension. One starts to see the qualities of phenomena when one observes the object. In the lifting, moving, and placing, one also sees the true nature that is there. Actions such as blinking the eyes, opening and closing the eyes, because the intense delusion has been worn down, and there's an opening, then one comes to know the true nature even in these small movements. So one has become freed of the inability to see. One has become free of the lack of clarity. So the mind is clear, one knows clearly, and this is very important. So people who are under 40 and who are 50 plus, all people have a lot of opportunities to develop knowledge. And if one develops knowledge through the stages of knowledge and at last realizes Nibbana, one will understand that this practice is correct. And one will understand, so too is the one who taught it. One will see the Buddha because one sees the Dhamma. This is how the commentaries describe the detachment and removal of kilesas and the arising of knowledge. The yogis all are walking along this path, which can remove the kilesas and develop knowledge. One has to make effort to observe the arising object with accurate aim. So one one has to observe repeatedly, one has to apply the practice with respect, care, and continuity. And when one applies the practice according to the instructions, knowledge arises naturally. One naturally comes to see, starting with the distinction between nama and rupa and how they are related by cause and effect. Try it and see. It's guaranteed that knowledge can develop. But one thing is, though, that if one doesn't have faith in the practice, one won't have any desire to apply it to gain the results, and one's effort will be weak. So in that case, Sayadaw makes no guarantee as to whether one can gain the results that he mentions. So one can draw the conclusion from this that if one doesn't make any effort at all to observe the phenomena that are arising in one's body, or if one only observes them now and then kilesas will come into one's mind. On the other hand, if one observes the object which arises with effort, then sati will arise. Sati brings with it samadhi. And as it's said, noting and knowing, kilesas come clean. Because of effort, mindfulness, and samadhi, the mind becomes clean. And in that clean mind, the kilesas are removed. They're detached and moved far away. And in that clean mind, knowledge arises. So Sayadaw urges the yogis here in the remaining days to work with respect for the practice, aiming for continuity. Practice without a break so that you make the best use of the remaining time. That's all for today. Of the remaining time. That's all for today. Of the remaining time. That's all for today.